Hi kids, good afternoon. I'm Teacher Grass and I am a geologist. If you are watching this video, then I'm pretty sure you have already read the blog or the lesson that I wrote about rocks and minerals. Okay, so the reason why I am posting this video is for you to show it to your parents or for you to watch this video with your parents so that you will know or you will be guided on how to do the activities that I have recommended or written about in the blog that you just read. Okay, so just as a recap of what I have written there in lesson 1 entitled Rocks and Minerals, let's first define what is a rock. So basically, rock is a solid. So it's not liquid, it's not gas, it's a solid. And rock is composed of minerals. Sometimes it contains fossils as well. Okay? So the minerals make up the bulk of a rock. Okay? So as in this example, you've seen the photo of this specimen in my article. Okay? So this is a rock called diorite. Okay, I'll show it to you close. See, so a diorite is a coarse grained rock, meaning the crystals in this rock or the minerals in this rock are big enough to be seen with the naked eye. So you don't need a hand lens or a magnifying glass in order to see the individual crystals or minerals in this specimen. You notice I'm using crystals and minerals interchangeably. They're just one and the same, okay? So, the white minerals in this specimen is called plagioclase, whereas the dark green minerals that look elongated are pyroxene or pyroxene. Some geologists pronounce it as pyroxene. It can also be pyroxene. Okay, so if you notice, this rock is, or it seems that the minerals in this rock are fused together. If you've read my blog, can you guess what this rock or where this rock came from? If you said volcano, that is right. Okay, so basically this rock, diorite, so we geologists call it a fancy name, diorite, was once a molten magma. Okay, what happened in the sample was that instead of getting spewed out of a volcano, the magma froze while inside the volcano. So nag-solidify sila and then they slowly form these crystals. That's why the crystals are big, because they form very slowly and they had the time to grow into really big crystals. Yan. Okay? So I just did what most geologists do when they see a rock. They actually describe the rock. Okay? So in the first activity, I asked you to collect rocks using your pail. You go to a park and then you collect rocks and then describe the rock based on what? On the color, on the size of the grains, the overall shape, and what else? You could also measure the length, the width, and the thickness or height of the sample. Okay, so if you have done that, congratulations. But if you haven't done that, then let me guide you on how to do it. Okay, so let's take this. For example, this is the specimen that you got from the park. Okay, the park where you got your sample looks like this. Okay, one thing that you might want to do first is that to clean the sample. So sometimes rocks have mud or dirt over it. Okay, so you just clean the sample first, and then you have to look at the sample while it's wet. Okay, since I have the sample, it's already dry. What you can do, what I will do is spray it with some water. Okay. Now, why do we need the sample wet? The sample needs to be wet so that you will be able to see the grains more clearly. Okay, so what you do is you put it against the light and then look at the individual crystals. See? See? Di ba mas clearer yung crystals or the minerals when the sample is slightly damp? Okay? So, if the crystals are big enough, Gugu, say hi. So that's my eldest son, si Gugu. Okay, so if you notice, you don't need, hi, that's Chabibi. Okay, so if you notice, when the sample is damp, the crystals or the minerals in this rock is more visible. That's why you can see the individual grains, the individual minerals in this rock without the use of a hand lens or a magnifying glass. Okay, so this rock is, what's the grain size, or what's this rock? How do you classify this rock in terms of size? This is a coarse grained rock. Okay, now in terms of color, how do you describe the color of this rock? Is it white? Is it black? Is it dark green? Dark greenish gray? Well, actually, since you're seeing two colors in this rock, the white one and the green patches, the white patches and the green patches, you can actually describe a rock in terms of its similarity with another object. So in this case, if I am going to describe this and put it in my notebook, I would say this rock has salt and pepper color, or similar to salt and pepper. And that's okay. That's acceptable description for the color of this rock. In fact, we have several rocks that we've described that way. And it's okay. Okay? Another thing that you can do when you're analyzing or when you're classifying or describing your rock sample that you got from the park or from your playground is to look at the dimensions. Okay? So you can get a ruler. I have a ruler right here. And you can just get the dimensions in terms of centimeters, for example. So this rock is about 11 centimeters long, about 6 centimeters wide, and has a thickness, at the thickest part is about 7 centimeters. So the rock may be irregular, but you can just look at the longest and the thickest part of your rock to give the dimension. As you can see, the sample shape is slightly irregular, but in general, this is rectangular. The sample is generally rectangular, okay? There you go. So medyo elongated yung sample mo. So you can also put that in your notebook, okay? And then, what else can you say about the sample? Okay, so we've described the size, the grain size. So this is coarse grain. We've also measured it to give you the dimensions using a ruler. And then we have also looked at the roundness or the shape of your sample. So this sample is not round. It is actually highly angular. So angular siya. It has sharp edges. So be careful when you're touching your sample. If it has sharp edges, be careful. Okay? Don't want to hurt yourself with sample or slice or cut yourself with the edges of the sample. Okay. So this is a coarse-grained rock. Now, I also discussed another type of sample classified according to the size of the grain. So I also mentioned a medium grain sample. Okay, so if we are going to sit this beside the coarse grain sample, you would notice the difference in terms of grain size. Yeah, while this one, the coarse grain sample, you can see the crystals or the minerals without the use of a hand lens. This one, in this sample, the grains are slightly smaller. So sometimes, if I'm the geologist who got the sample from the field, I would need a hand lens in order to identify the individual grains of this rock. Okay, so this is a medium-grained rock. Okay, so let me spray it with water first because the sample is dry. This has been sitting in my collection for a while. Okay, so the next, what you do when you want to look at the sample through the magnifying lens or the hand lens is you bring it out to the light. So for example, the light is over me, so bring it out on the light, and then you put the hand lens on over your dominant eye and put the sample, the rock sample, close to the hand lens until you see the individual grains in the rock. Okay, there you go. That's how you look at the sample using a hand lens. Okay, so this is a medium-grained rock. This is actually an andesite rock. Okay, next, we also have a rock that's so fine that the grains are so fine that you won't be able to look or to see the individual grains in the rock. So an example of that is the mudstone that I posted about in the blog. So this is a mudstone. As you can see, the mudstone is generally gray, but it also shows some sort of layering. Okay, if the layering is this fine or this thin, we actually call it lamination instead of layering, or instead of bedding, we call it a lamination. Okay, so it's laminated. Okay, so this sample is generally gray. The shape is highly irregular, but a bit triangular, right? Although the sides are not equal and the sides are not really sharp or well defined. And then if you look at the sample, even with the use of a hand lens, you won't be able to distinguish the grains, each grain in this sample. So this sample is a fine-grained sample. In fact, this is a mudstone. Okay, so you've read in my blog that a mudstone is a type of rock that has formed usually underneath a big body of water like a lake or an ocean. Okay, so just learned what rocks are. Again, what is a rock? A rock is a solid that is composed of minerals, sometimes with fossils, okay, with the grains look either fused together or cemented. Okay, so for fine-grained rocks, usually geologists utilize high-power microscopes in order to identify the individual minerals in the sample. Okay, so we won't be doing that because a microscope is something that you will find in laboratories. I don't have one, so it's very expensive too. Like a unit is like 2 million pesos. Okay, okay. Next, after rocks, I've also discussed in the blog or in the article about minerals. Okay, so mineral is basically a solid that has distinct chemical and physical property. Okay, so minerals make up the bulk of the rock. Okay, so inorganic siya, meaning it wasn't formed from organic materials like plants and animals. Kung plants and animals, pag tumigas sila, organic sila, and at the same time, they're not called minerals, they're called fossils. Okay, so right. In the discussion about mineral, I asked you to print out the picture of mineral pebbles and then identify some of the properties of the minerals in that picture. For example, you look at the color, you look at the luster, the transparency, and if you can also look for the streak. Okay, and I didn't ask you to look for the form because if you notice, the picture is made up of rounded pebbles of minerals. So, hindi obvious yung mga form nila doon sa picture na yon. But don't worry, I have here a number of samples where I can show you the different minerals showing different physical properties. Okay, let's start with color. So color is the most obvious characteristic of a mineral. For example, this is this is a mineral quartz. Do you see the color? So this quartz is deep purple in color. See? Whereas this one is also a quartz, but the color is orange, right? Let me show you another typical example of quartz. This is also a quartz, and it looks transparent. So this is a very common color of quartz. It's transparent. It's transparent white, or transparent, just transparent. Okay. Do I still have other quartz? Okay, sometimes quartz are so dark. Okay? As dark as this one. This is also a quartz. Okay? Or composed of tiny quartz. Okay? This is actually an agate. Composed of quartz. Agate. Okay? Okay, another quartz. Okay, so if you're going to describe this quartz, you have three colors already. One that is white or transparent, one that is yellow but a bit white at the bottom, and this one is purple. Okay, so because this quartz have two different colors, the one is usually called, the purple one is usually called, or is called amethyst, while the one that's yellowish is citrine. Okay, I bought the samples in Australia. Okay, how about this one? What color is this mineral? Obviously it's green. Okay, so I think this one is an agate, actually an agate that's colored green. So an agate is also a quartz mineral, but the crystallinity is not that obvious. Okay. So amorphous ang tawag namin doon. How about this one? See? What does this color remind you of? Have you been to the zoo? Have you seen a tiger? Have you seen the eye of a tiger? Right, this mineral is a tiger's eye. And the color of the minerals changes from dark brown to light brown. See? What else? This mineral came from Turkey. And what's the color of this mineral? It is blue. Dark blue. Royal blue. This mineral is a what? Lapis lazuli. Okay, so the lapis lazuli is usually royal blue in color. Okay, and sometimes they contain gold yellow pyrite minerals. Okay. Okay, so we've discussed color. Now let's move on to streak. What did I tell you about streak in the article? Streak is basically the color of the mineral when it's powdered or rubbed against a tile or an glazed tile. Okay, so here let me show you a mineral that looks yellow on the surface, but when you rub it against a tile, you would see that the true color or the powdered color is not yellow. So this mineral is famous because it's actually called by some people fool's gold. Yan. So, di ba? Not all that glitters is gold. This is a mineral pyrite. Can you see that? Pyrite. There you go. And this is a tile. Okay? If I streak the sample on the tile, you will see that it's not yellow. It's actually dark gray. Okay? So that's how you can tell when a mineral that looks like gold is actually not a gold but rather a pyrite based on the streak or the powder, the color of the powdered form of that mineral. If you were offered, if your mom got offered gold, be sure to use a streak plate like this. If the streak is yellow, then more likely than not, it is gold. Okay? So what else did I mention in the article? I also mentioned about habit. So habit is basically the general form that a mineral exhibits. Okay? So what are the habits that I discussed in the lesson? I said one of the properties that the minerals exhibit are that they are what? Here is an example of a rosette. So how did I define rosette? Basically, bladed crystal sila, but they formed, the blades exhibit a rose-like structure or form. So this is a gypsum. There you go. Looks like a rose. Okay, so the crystals or the minerals are bladed, but they form together, they bunch up together to form a rosette or rose-like habit. So rosette ang tawag doon. Another form that is pretty common among the minerals is bladed form or bladed habit, as in the case of this selenite. Here. There you go. See? Looks bladed. So the edges of this selenite crystals or minerals look like the blade of a knife. See? You see that? Okay. What is the color of the selenite? It's white. Okay. Another habit that I might have here is columnar, as in the case of a quartz crystal or mineral. See? A real mineral of quartz would have 6 sides because it's an hexagonal crystal, or it usually forms hexagonal crystal, and that it would have this kind of facets on the top, what we call pinacoid. Okay, see here? And so if you count the sides on the top, like that, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 sides sa taas, and then 6 sides din siya sa column. Okay, so the column is 6 sides, the pinacoids at the top, like yung para siyang pyramid, 6 sides din yon. So this is columnar habit. Okay, so another quartz crystal I have has 6 sides, columnar habit. What else? I also have tabular. Okay, this is a common habit of a mineral, calcite. Okay, so tabular. See? Tabular siya. See? Para siyang table na maliit. Okay? Okay. Here. It's actually parang rhombus yung shape niya. So, if you're going to describe it as a shape, it exhibits a rhombus shape. Okay? That's why I love calcite. It is perfect yung kanyang crystallinity. Okay, what else? I've shown you yung to amethyst and yung citrine quartz. So, ang tawag naman namin sa ganitong habit ay druzy. Druzy or well-formed siya pero madami. Okay, usually nag-form sila sa mga caverns, mga sa geodes, mga ganon. Mga malalaking butas, go-form sila. Okay, what else? So those are some of the minerals I have show common habit of minerals. Okay, next is luster. Okay, so I've mentioned pearly, metallic, greasy, dull, ganyan. So, example of a resinous or glassy na luster is quartz. Yun, mukha siyang glass. Kaya ang tawag sa kanya, glassy. Or vitreous rather. Did I mention resinous? I meant vitreous or glassy. Ayan, so mukha siyang glass. And then, meron din tayong mineral na medyo yung luster niya ay greasy, as in the case of selenite. So, parang siyang merong oil slick. Yan. So, parang may oil slick. Nakakita na kayo ng oil slick? Halimbawa, nagtapon kayo ng oil sa, huwag nyo gagawin sa bahay. Magtapon kayo ng oil sa tile. Tapos parang meron siyang sheen na, greasy, yon. Ito yon, selenite has that kind of luster. So, greasy. Okay? And then, we also have crystals that exhibit luster. That's this is also vitreous, glassy. So this is rose quartz and amethyst. What else do I have? Okay, so metallic, obviously those are crystals that show luster that's similar to any metal. Okay, so this is pyrite. The luster is metallic. Okay. Let's look for other lusters in my sample. Can also have minerals that are a little bit dull. Okay, so I guess that's all I can show. I haven't really gotten out the samples. Okay, let me show you a sample I got from Australia that looks like a tiny piece of ocean. Okay, you know, Australia is famous for their opals. So when I went there, I really have to, I told myself I really have to get opal, kahit yung mura lang na opal, kasi I know opals that are gem quality are expensive. So I got one that's a bit cheap. I think I got it for $10 Australian dollars. I saved this one kasi nalalaglag sila from their but opals, they're like, opals are also quartz but of low grade, meaning amorphous, hindi sila crystalline. Unlike this one, this quartz is highly crystalline, diba? It has crystal shape, has distinct crystal faces. Opal is fine grade, microscopically fine grade quartz na hindi pa ganun ka-distinct yung crystallinity niya. So, kaya ang tawag namin sa kanya amorphous quartz opal. There you go. See? What is the luster of opal? Can you make a guess? I would say opal can be sometimes pearly and also sometimes resinous. Sometimes it can also be a bit on the greasy side, yung kanyang luster. Iba-iba rin kasi yung one of the most diverse na minerals I know is opal. Ang dami niyang kulay. It can be violet, blue, it can look like an ocean turquoise, ganung kulay. Iba-iba siya. So sometimes nag-iiba-iba rin yung luster niya. Depende kung, syempre pag na-polish, minsan nag-iiba din yung luster. Ayan. This is a raw sample, unpolished. Raw cut siya. Okay. I have 2 samples of this actually. Ayun. So we have described the colors of the minerals, the habit or the form. We also discussed the streak. Let's now go to transparency. Okay, so it's one of the easiest then to describe, diba? There are only 3. Okay, one is transparent, meaning if you put an object behind that sample, you will see the object through the crystal. So transparent. Next is translucent, meaning if you put an object behind that crystal, although the light can pass through it, pero hindi ganon ka clear yung object behind that mineral. So translucent siya. See? As in the case of this amethyst quartz. Okay? And then opaque are basically minerals where no light can pass through. So example of that is the pyrite. Ito, yung tiger's eye. So kahit may light na ilagay ka dyan, hindi mo makita dito. And vice versa. Okay? So yon. How about this this sample, this green sample? Correct. If you said translucent, that's correct. Okay? There you go. So I think I've already mentioned all the properties, the physical properties of crystals that I had described in the lesson. Okay. So as geologists, if you want to explore for rocks and minerals, there are basic tools that you would want to get first. For example, if you did the first activity and you, for example, nag-explore ka ng rocks and crystals and minerals, kunwari geologist of the day ka, like we did in the geology tour, so you would need a notebook, okay? So this is where you're going to write your observation. So nag-collect ka ng rock, for example, you can write in this section kung anong date mo ginawa yung exploration, okay? So ask your mom to teach you how to do that. And then sa next column, you can write the sample number. For example, if selenite is your sample number 1, all the description in the number 1 item would be about selenite. Okay? So the color of the selenite, the luster, yung form niya, yung ganon. So ilalagay mo siya dito. Okay? Sometimes we geologists also put sa top kung ano yung location and then kung ano yung weather conditions. Yon. So parang diary din siya. So as an explorer, you need a notebook and a pen. Okay? Next that you would need in case you encounter medium-grained or fine-grained samples is a hand lens. Okay? Another term for this is jeweler's loupe. But if you have a magnifying glass that has a magnification of 10x or 10 times, that's also okay. Okay? And then sometimes we geologists use a multi-tool in order to test for the hardness of the mineral. So I didn't discuss hardness because I don't want your kids handling knives. Okay? Because one of the things that you would need in order to test for hardness is to have a tiny knife. Okay, but I didn't discuss it in the lesson because I don't want you to handle a knife, especially if you're unsupervised by your parents. Okay, you might hurt yourself. You might accidentally cut yourself. So, hindi ko muna discuss yung hardness because I think it's a little advanced for elementary kids or grade school kids. But if you want to request for a complete discussion on different mineral hardness, that's also fine. You just let me know and I will do another lesson on mineral covering other properties of the minerals. There are a few properties that I did not mention kasi masyado silang technical. And ayoko mabombard kayo ng masyadong maraming information. Kasi baka hanggang lesson 1 lang kayo, hindi na kayo bumalik sa lesson 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay? So that's all for now. As a recap, I've discussed the definition of rock and minerals, how you describe it, some properties of the rocks and minerals, the how you describe it, what are the basic tools that you need if you're collecting rocks for your activity 1. Okay, so I hope you did that, or I hope you will do that after this video. And thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I know the video is not perfect. This is my first vlog ever. Yeah, this is my first video blog ever, so please bear with me. I will do my best to improve our lecture series in terms of the wordings. I hope I made it simple for you, and I hope you would also subscribe in this channel, subscribe in the website, in my website, and see you in my next lecture. Keep safe, guys. The pandemic is still on, so social distancing, please. Don't go out a lot. If you're going to the playground to collect samples, make sure that you're wearing your mask and you're wearing your gloves, okay? And I hope to see you guys in my next vlog, in my next article, in my next lesson. See you. Bye for now. Take care.